All right, we're live. Guys, welcome back to another episode of the Dave Gold Evolve podcast. I'm your host, Dave Gold. This is my podcast where I interview coaches, digital nomads, entrepreneurs, industry leaders to help men evolve their business and dating lives. And today we've got an amazing guest, Martin Mezei, CEO of Mindful Masculinity. Welcome, Martin. Can you tell us a little bit about where you are and what you do?
Hey Dave, thanks so much for having me on, man. Glad to be a fellow image floating in front of a logo on the podcast. Yeah, man. I'm the founder and head coach at Mindful Masculinity Coaching. I am on a mission to empower men by helping them lead in their love life with purpose. And I am based in Barcelona, Spain.
Mm-hmm. How is everything in Barcelona right now?
Um, I've been going through a very special time here for sure. One thing that I love the most about Barcelona is how social it is, how open it is, how much freedom you have in connecting with different people across all walks of life. And so it's very strange to have restrictions on that. And Spain is one of the hardest hit countries in Europe when it comes to Corona.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a little fear and uncertainty. But the only thing that I can say is the same thing that I tell my clients when they come to me with fear and uncertainty. And this is something that my coach Thomas has always told me. And he says, when you feel uncertainty, you have to dance with it, right? And you have to embrace it. And so that's what I'm trying to do here. Embrace that certainty and embrace the strangeness and the difference that you can feel and how it is. Yeah.
Do you yourself dance bachata or salsa or any kind of cool Spanish dance?
No, man, I do not. Sorry to disappoint. I do not. So actually, I've only lived here for like 4.5 years,
Mm-hmm.
which is plenty. It's plenty to learn dancing, but I haven't. And during those 4.5 years, I've just worked across all kinds of different fields, kind of looking for my purpose, right?
Mm-hmm.
Looking for who I am as a man and what I'm here to do in this life. And actually, I haven't danced any bachata or salsa, but I have to say, when I came here, I was much more shy with my body, right? Like I was not very free in my movement. I wasn't able to go to a club and just dance or go anywhere and just dance. But through some inner work, I was able to free myself up a little bit. So I do dance. Not many people like it, but I do. And it's not bachata or salsa either. It's probably more comparable to all those like TikTok sensations, but it is something. So yeah.
Maybe you want to tell me a little bit more about that. You're not originally from Spain, are you? So can you give us maybe a little bit about the story of your life and the journey that you've gone on to go from where you grew up to now being in Spain and discovering your purpose?
Yeah, man, 100%. So I grew up in a small Central European country called Hungary. I was
I
born
love
in
Hungary.
Budapest. Yeah. Awesome, man. I know you've been to Budapest before too, right?
Yeah, I was there in the beginning of the coronavirus, and I'm actually trying to
Oh,
get back there pretty soon.
yeah, I'm trying to get back there.
We're gonna have to meet up there.
Yeah, man, exactly. Hit me up when you're in Budapest. I'll fly over. I'm much closer than you are, for sure. But yeah, that's where I was originally born, and I lived there until I was 14 years old. And at that point, I started moving around the world, you could say, right? So I moved to Turkey because my mother started working there, and I went to an international high school there. And so very early in my life, I was kind of like ripped out of place, right? I never was a very confident or very social kid, but being taken out of my natural environment came with even more discomfort and even more different challenging stimuli that I had to adapt to. And so I went to high school in Turkey and I went to university in Denmark. And I ended up doing an internship here in Barcelona, Spain, when I was studying marketing and sales. And throughout all of that journey, I've had a fair share of partying and drugs and self-destructive behaviors. I'd also had my fair share of getting really attached to my ego and my identity and just trying to be as fit and as well dressed and as impressive socially as one can be. And so I've done all the little traps that a man can fall into and looking for his purpose, I would say. But really what got me started on my journey of men's work, of inner work, or of inner child's work was the relationship that I got into when I first came to Barcelona. And so when I first came here, of course, fresh out of university, ready to start a new life, ready to start working and start living it, one of the things that I was most eager about is to finally find a woman that I can sincerely connect with and feel validated and fulfilled and be her man and for her to be my woman. And I'd come across a girl who was absolutely jaw-dropping for me and made my heart beat right crazy. And being quite inexperienced, I jumped into that relationship right away, even though there were many, many red flags, right? And even though we had a beautiful honeymoon phase, the relationship very quickly became toxic. So we were living together in this beachside apartment in Barcelona, which is supposed to be the dream, right? We were working in the same office, at kind of like a startup, like very open-minded culture company. So that's also supposed to be really cool, right? And we were meeting each other's families and spending Christmas and summer vacations together. And we were simple and plain planning to spend our life together and planning to travel the world together. And so I've given that relationship this sort of untouchable, I must stay in this relationship and I must make it work status, even though there were so many red flags and even though issues like uncertainty and jealousy and fighting started coming up. But I ignored all of those signs and I just simply stood by passive. I didn't step into my role as a man and I didn't take action. And so that relationship ended with my ex-girlfriend cheating on me while traveling, while being away and me being alone in our apartment. And that was probably one of the most painful things that has ever happened to me. I still remember the moment when she came back from traveling and we were sitting at our kitchen table in our beautiful apartment. And I was just looking at her and I could feel things were very different. And I was asking her, have you done something? Have you been with someone? And I remember to this day her saying, are you sure you want to talk about this right now? And so that was the first time that I experienced panic attacks and anxiety and depression. And I ran away from our apartment. I disappeared when she was away for another week. I disappeared. I broke up with her. I blocked her in all social media. And I was this close to falling into the victim mindset and thinking that it was her fault. I was this close to blaming her for everything that happened. I was this close to saying, oh, it's Tinder and the current dating culture and it's her fault. She's just a bitch and blah, 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 blah. Bullshit, right? But if I made a decision, then I wouldn't be here as the head coach of Mindful Masculinity right now, and I wouldn't be talking to you on this podcast right now, and I wouldn't be helping dozens of men across the globe with my coaching. Because the decision that I made was very different. I decided to take responsibility for what happened. I looked at the situation and I thought, I can either take this path and be a victim and say this had nothing to do with me, or I can take another path. Because I saw that there are guys out there who have incredible, thriving relationships. And I could see that they were doing things differently than I was. They were more authentic than me. And they were more aligned and more grounded and more centered than me. And they had a purpose and a willingness to walk away if their standards were not met or if what they were looking for was not matched. And I really admire that. And so I set out on a journey of the next 4 years pursuing that man that I knew that I was meant to be and that could have those relationships. A long story short, I've gone through those 4 years and the journey is still ongoing. But throughout those 4 years, I'd read hundreds of books and watched tens of thousands of hours of self-development content and done all kinds of coaching programs in NLP and mindfulness and mindset coaching and business coaching. And I've even been to India, going deeper into my spiritual journey and learning about yoga and meditation, becoming a certified yoga teacher, and all in all, spending over like 10K investing into myself and my personal development. And in the end, I actually came to a point where I felt a huge difference. I felt a huge shift. It was no longer a game or a play and pretend or a strategy that I had to put in place. I was authentically myself, and I was attracting incredible people, both men that could be my friends and women who were potential partners. And at that point, I met another ideal girl that made my jaw drop even more and made my heart beat even faster. And we started seeing each other, and that quickly turned into a relationship. And the same issues started arising as they do, the uncertainty, the jealousy. But this time it was different because this time I really felt like I was embodying my authentic masculinity. I was really being myself, and I could step into my role as a man in the relationship and nip those issues at the bud and address them with that gentle, loving, masculine energy. And so that turned out to be an incredible, incredible relationship that I am in to this day, that's still thriving. And looking back, I realized that, wow, well, there's so many other men out there who can resonate with this story, who relate to this story, who are struggling, whether single or in a relationship, but are struggling because they're simply not aligned with who they feel they are meant to be, what they feel they are meant to embody, and the purpose that they're meant to pursue. And that's manifesting in their relationships and love life. And so I decided to embark on this journey and become masculinity coach last year, even though I've been in the coaching field for over 3 years, and I've been working with yoga, mindfulness, and spiritual development for a few years also. I made that commitment last year to focus on men and focus on this mission.
I'm just going to jump in for a sec. So why is it, do you think, that usually, though, men jump to, and women as well, just people in general jump to the victim mentality when it comes to something doesn't go well for them, whether it's in business or dating, but especially in relationships with other, let's say women, okay, and men take this victim mentality that everyone else is to blame. The women, the society, the online dating, the culture. We can't talk to people anymore. It's unorthodox. Okay. Tell me a little bit about how you were able to not necessarily fall into that victim trap.
Yeah, sure, man. Well, I think we jump to the victim mindset because it's the least painful at the moment, right? Our reptilian brain that's always just trying to protect us, trying to avoid pain, is always looking for it's either looking for instant gratification, or it's looking for a way to not feel pain and be more comfortable. And of course, it's more painful to say, hey, it's on me. I'll carry this burden. I'll take responsibility for this. It's much easier to say, oh, it's the government, it's the weather, it's society. Mm-hmm. And to answer your question on how I would overcome it, the reason my coaching company is called Mindful Masculinity, because it was the power of mindfulness. And of course, mindfulness is a huge umbrella term, mostly used for Eastern philosophy and meditation practices, brought over to the West and simplified a little bit. But let's just say for now, mindfulness was the reason that I could deal with that victim mindset. That when that victim mindset, that narrative came up in my mind, just like you do in meditation, I saw it as a thought and not as a part of me. I didn't see it as objective reality. I thought, oh, that thing that just came up, that's a thought. And it is my choice whether I'm going to choose that as my reality or not. And I didn't want to choose it as my reality because I didn't feel that it was serving me long term.
What do guys usually say when you tell them that, you're going to teach them to be more mindful?
Well, I don't really say that. I don't really say I'm going to teach you how to be more mindful, because people have different associations with different words, right? And I'm very much aware of that. And I think mindful is perceived as something passive and something withdrawn, and like a sage living in a mountain cave and meditating 8 hours a day, which is beautiful too. Like if that's your path, fucking awesome. But what I tell guys more like is that I'm going to teach you how to be an open heart warrior and grab life by the balls.
Well, we're definitely missing a lot of mindfulness and consciousness and awareness in our societies and in our relationships at times. Is they get drowned out by our inner voice, by external forces, by the news and social media and things like this. And sometimes taking that step back and seeing how can we become more mindful and more self-aware.
Yeah.
That is what's actually going to create stability and create an elevated sense of, I would say, peace in our lives.
Yeah.
So would you give the listeners any exercise or maybe something that we could do right now together that we could practice mindfulness?
Yeah.
If anyone's listening?
Absolutely. In fact, we can do this right now together. This is the breathing exercise that I always start with whoever comes to me, whether you're a pranayama practitioner and you've done breath work for years. It still works just as well. That's the beauty of it, right? This is called square breathing. So what we can do together right now, and this is my invitation and my challenge for you, is to first of all sit up straight, or if you're standing, then just have a straight posture and roll your shoulders back and open your rib cage a bit. And start breathing in through the nose into your belly. You want to count to 4 while you're inhaling. You want to hold that for 4 seconds. And you want to exhale for 4. You want to hold it again for 4 seconds. Let's repeat. Inhale for 4. Into the belly and hold for 4. Exhale for 4. Hold for 4. Let's go for the last one. Inhale. And hold. Exhale. Hold. And you can either continue if you want at your own count. Inhaling for 4 to 6 seconds, holding for 4 to 6, or even 8 seconds, and then exhaling and holding again. This is called a square breath because it really goes in a square, right? You inhale, you hold, you exhale, you hold. And
is there something that you should be thinking about during the square breath technique apart from your breath going into your mouth, holding, and your breath going out into your nose, out through your mouth?
I think you should just be thinking about the beautiful sensation of oxygen flowing through your nostrils and filling up your belly, pretty much. Or even a great thing to visualize is the flow of air going down through your nose, going down your spine and going into your balls and connecting to your sexual male energy. It's a beautiful thing to do. And if any moment throughout the day you feel anxious, you feel stressed, you feel like you're in a rush, or at night you're overthinking and you can't fall asleep, this is a great thing to do to bring your attention, bring your awareness back, calm your nervous system down, and even something to do before you sit down for your 5-10 minutes of mindfulness meditation, which I definitely recommend everyone to do. Mindfulness is not a luxury, it's a maintenance habit. It's like brushing your teeth or showering or wiping your ass for your mind.
Well, I definitely believe in meditation myself. I've been to Vipassana retreat. Do you know about those?
I do know about Vipassana. I have not done it though.
Yeah, it's a pretty intense 10 days where for the first 9 days, you're in silence, no communication with the others. They've taken away your phone and wallet and other things. And you're going through this course, which is guided by audio and video and whatnot. And you're really just practicing becoming incredibly self-aware, practicing the breath, and minimizing everything else that's going on, having a very basic diet and a healthy sleep schedule. And you leave the course and you hear like the flies moving around the city, okay? And like right now, you know, I hear the sirens of coronavirus. I'm sure that would be even louder if I had just gotten out of of Vipassana. But
yeah,
I myself, you know, and I see my students as well, fall back at times into bad habits. Okay, so we know what we need to do, okay, and we know what's going to make us healthy and happy and prosperous, okay, but sometimes we fall back into bad habits. And I know that you have opened up about addiction at some point, and I'm wondering if you'd be open to going into this for a second and talking about how to not fall back into bad habits or addiction.
Yeah, man. So my biggest addiction right now is Ben and Jerry's vegan chunky monkey ice cream.
Don't even go there. I was just in the grocery store and they've got a new vegan Ben and Jerry's with pretzels and it was looking so good, but I don't know how I held myself back and I put it back in the fridge and I carried on.
Well, the only reason I'm actually not, I was joking, I'm not addicted to those, but man, the only reason I'm not binging it is because it's so pricey here that I can't justify it. It's like €8 or something. It's like $10 plus for those of you guys who are not in Europe. Yeah. Anyways, man, addictions, eh? Yeah, brother, I was exposed to addictions at a very, very early age. So by the age of 13, I was smoking cigarettes. By the age of 14, I was smoking cannabis. By the age of, well, still 14, 15, I was already doing synthetic drugs, partying a lot. 15, 16, 17, I went crazy, like lots of partying, lots of drinking, lots of smoking. And casual sex in a form of like addictive, indulgent behavior as well. Never really fulfilling though. I'm not saying I was like this successful player or anything, more just like this like, needy, give me some vagina kind of person.
Sounds so bad, but I know what you're going. I know where you're coming from for sure.
I was like, yes, give me more, yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. I mean, I encountered those addictive behaviors very, very early on in my life, and I remember the very first time that I was confronted with how bad they were for you. In fact, and it was all thanks to a PE fitness teacher that I had in high school. And shout out to Mr. Kerrigan.
I'm sure Mr. Kerrigan is watching the Dave Goldie Bob podcast right now.
Hey, brother, I wouldn't be surprised. He still follows my Instagram, Mr. C. Yeah, so I remember Mr. C challenging me. I was one of like the skinny guys in class, right? And I was not very like fit or anything, but I was enjoying his classes because he actually had this sort of like loving father energy, right? To all of his students, he had this loving father or big brother sort of energy, and so I really, really loved that about him. And he noticed that I was actually a decent runner, and I was smoking like half a pack of cigarettes at that time of my life at the age of like 16. And he was like, "Hey, Martin, if you actually took up running a bit more, you might just be one of the fastest runners in class." And nobody has ever said that to me in my life. Nobody was ever like, hey, nobody ever pointed out like, hey, you know what? You could be good at this if you put in the time. And so I did. I took up running and I started running more and more. And at a certain point, I got onto the soccer team, the football team. And at a certain point, I was like the third fastest kid on the football team. And I was like, oh shit, maybe if I quit cigarettes, I could be even faster. And so I quit cigarettes when I was like 17 years old. And yeah, and I became a faster runner, and I got into martial arts and kickboxing and whatnot. And that's actually where my whole entire self-development journey started. It started with athleticism. The first time that I encountered this pattern that, oh, instant gratification is not the way to live. Always avoiding pain and just seeking the quickest way of achieving pleasure is not the best way to live. That was the first time that I learned that. And ever since then, my knowledge and understanding of that has only been evolving and is still evolving to this day, and has got to the point where now I understand that even this physical world that we live in is not even where you can seek true gratification. True gratification can only come from going beyond that and connecting to your source. But that's going really deep now. That's my view on addictions, however, is that addiction always comes from seeking pleasure, seeking numbness, self-coping, it's a coping mechanism. And it can be overcome the quickest by connecting to your higher power, connecting to your source. And that can even be connecting to your authentic masculine energy.
So can we give maybe a practical example? So let's say there's a guy out there and he's struggling with addiction to porn or weed or alcohol, okay, or sex, and he can easily attain any of those things in that moment if he wanted it, but subconsciously he knows that it's not best for him, but he's having a hard time holding back. So like, do you think that he should just go for a run or journal it out or do some breathing? What do you think that maybe it depends on the person? What do you think?
It's a great question, man. I do think that it depends on the person. And I also think it depends on the vision that that person might have for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe in the vision of that person, porn is not a bad thing, or cigarettes are not a bad thing, or alcohol is not a bad thing. And I'm nobody to say that it is.
Mm.
I have my personal practices that some people might think are fucking crazy,
Okay.
and that might be something that they don't want to get into, but it's evolution for me. And so personal growth and expansion and elevating your consciousness, if you want to put it into those words, can take up many shapes and forms. And the only thing that I can do as a coach is just to be a mirror for the people that I work with, a mirror to my brothers. And when I hear them speak on issues and I penetrate deeper and deeper with my questions, I can only help them realize what are the bullshit stories that they've been telling themselves. So there are people out there listening to this who have a bullshit story where watching porn and self-pleasuring constantly is their only source of joy and their only source of intimacy, that it's something that they need, but they feel intuitively that that's bullshit. Then all I can say is that I believe in you. I believe that you have the power to change that. And I know that deep down, you know you have the power to change that too. What that change will look like for you, only you know, because you are in the control of that. So you're the person who can take responsibility and make a change in your life.
All right. Well, with that being said, you say that only that person can know what is best for him or what he needs to do. Yet a lot of times guys seem to be, women as well, but, we work predominantly with men. Guys seem to be in this state where they're like, I don't know what's best for me. I don't know what my purpose is. Like, I don't know how to structure my life so that I can break free of everything that I've learned and everything that society and my family has told me to be and to do. And now I can go off and live a different life.
Yeah.
So where do you start?
You start by stop trying to know what it is, because the mind gives you an absolutely false sense of security by knowing what your purpose is. Nobody knows what the fuck your purpose is. You don't know your purpose. You feel your purpose. Like, my purpose right now is having an amazing conversation with you, connecting with you, admiring your beautiful tiger pattern shirt.
Oh, my tiger shirt.
And then in 30 minutes, my purpose is going to be out on the beach, hitting some pads with boxing gloves, like.
I'm going to have to join you.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to say here is that is a very common place where men fuck themselves up, and so do women. And to those of you who are suffering from being stuck in your head, constantly thinking, what is my purpose? Am I going in the wrong direction? Am I going in the right direction? What is the outcome of this? What is the outcome of that? What are the potential risks? What will people think of me? Am I going to be able to date my dream girl if I do this? Am I going to make enough money? But what about that house that I wanted to live in? Will I be able to live? Just shut the fuck up. Go out for a walk and take a few deep breaths into your balls and feel into it and feel into the moment, and admire what you're looking at. Admire what you're hearing, admire what you're smelling, and be grateful for it. And give yourself at least an opportunity to feel a glimpse of what presence and gratefulness feels like, because those emotions will carry you towards your purpose no matter what. A life purpose is not singular. A life purpose is a very long, complex journey, right? Consisting of various tasks and various missions and things that you can do. And so that was a time when my purpose was smoking a pack of cigarettes and drinking beer every day and smoking weed with my friends and jerking off to porn every day and playing Fallout. Right? And that was my purpose, I was fucking 17 years old. And now there's a time in my life when my purpose is waking up and doing a 2-hour morning routine and reading some great books, and then meditating, going for a swim, and spending 8 hours working on getting in touch with and coaching men. But perhaps tomorrow I'll get hit by a car, I'll be in a wheelchair, or I'll even, lose some cognitive abilities. And then my purpose will become learning to live life again from a different viewpoint. And so this whole idea of, me, purpose is a fucking terrible suppression. If anything, it's a suppression of your human nature, and it's a suppression of the beauty of genuine life, genuine human experience. So I encourage everyone. In fact, if you're watching right now, then feel free to reach out to me on Facebook, or find my group on my website, where I give out a free 7-day meditation challenge, which is called Grounded in Purpose. And I do 7 meditations that are all based around the topic of purpose, and it helps unpack all of this all of these things that I just said.
That's beautiful. There's been one word that's been coming up for me like more this week that it just shines, and it's like surrender. And if you really want to find your purpose and you really want to embrace your path, once you start to discover your purpose, I believe that in a sense, you need to surrender. You need to surrender to the fact that you have all of this innate power, and at the same time, you're incredibly powerless. That in any moment, it can all be taken away from you, but in each and every moment, you have the power to take either right or wrong action. And so there is this, you know, conflicting kind of energies that are going on here where it's like, am I in power or am I not? Okay. Am I just an ant or am I this dominant man walking through the world? All right.
Yeah.
And when we can just take a step back and surrender, all right, and realize that, yeah, we can't control everything that's going on around us. We can't control the way that people respond to us. Okay. We can't control that there's only 24 hours in the day. Sometimes we can't control the color of our skin, okay, how tall we are, all right, the family that we were brought up in. But at a certain point, if you're listening to this interview right now, okay, and you follow Martin or myself, you probably have at least a glimmer of hope that you have the power to change. And when you can surrender to that idea, I think things will start opening up. You'll start letting go of whatever you're holding on to, whether it's all that content that you've consumed, all those things that have been, pounded with a hammer into your head from society. And you'll start realizing that you can create your own path and your own rules, and you can manifest your own destiny in life.
Yeah, man, powerful. I agree with you on surrender.
Now, we just have time for a few more questions today. So
sure.
What I would like to do right now is jump into one that, if anyone is still listening, there's probably going to be some value here. I want to talk to you about clearly stating your sexual intentions in a dominant yet respectful or empathetic way.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think is the best way for a man to go about doing that?
Taking action. Well, you can always do it by spoken word also. But I think very often with that comes a sense of, women, or usually if you're, a man listening to this, you're probably playing the masculine counterpart in relationships. And so whether you are into men or women or whoever you might be into, and they're playing the feminine counterpart, the feminine is always very emotionally aware and intelligent, emotionally intelligent. And so when you say, my intention is to not sleep with you until we are more serious, then she'll think she will feel, okay, but why did he need to say that? Why didn't he just express that through action and through nourishing, loving, masculine presence and guidance, right? And the same thing if your intention is the opposite, if your intention is to have an adventure where intimacy and sex come into the picture very quickly or very easily, effortlessly, if you state that verbally, then the impression that you will leave in the feminine is, okay, why did you need to say that? Why couldn't you just lead by action? Because what they say is what's understood don't need to be explained, right? And I would say that very often in these connections, what's felt don't need to be understood. So as a man, if you want to express your intention, the best thing that you can do is just lead. And of course leave space for your partner to communicate to you if she's not comfortable with the direction that you're leading, or if she has a different idea or whatever. Always leave space for that, but always lead too. That's what I would say.
I love that answer. I really do. I can relate to that a lot.
Mm.
This dating niche is very wide, all right? You've got seduction, you've got self-love, you've got masculinity and awareness and purpose and all this kind of stuff. And sometimes we start to overcomplicate the process, which is, the attraction process. Okay. And when Martin is saying, okay, be open, be honest with someone, all right, or maybe, I would say that as well, it doesn't necessarily mean in a verbal sense. It can also be with your actions and how you show up, okay, and the kind of subcommunication that you give to someone else, the attention that you give them, the eye contact, okay, how you lead the interaction. And that's kind of missed because, especially in a world of online dating, where we, put a lot of emphasis on the words, we start losing out on the meaning, and the intention, and the leading. And sometimes, if it's really meant to be, you don't need to say it, just do it.
Yeah.
It's like, don't talk about it, just do it, get it done.
Yeah.
And when people see that, okay, they look at someone who is brave, who is courageous, someone who is different, someone who takes action. And I think those are all characteristics of probably a really mindful man who's in his, who's in his dominant state.
Yeah, but the fact is that, like you said, if you're a man who's emotionally aware and comfortable with himself, there's no need to talk too much. And when I say too much, I'm not saying there's like a specific amount that there's like a specific limit of how much you're supposed to talk or not. I'm not talking about it in that rational sense. I'm just saying that so much that you can express verbally, you can express by a touch, you can express by a gesture, right? Like on a date. Don't send her what you're doing, which restaurant you're going to, what activity you're taking up. Just send her a point to meet and let there be some mystery. Be aware that the feminine loves mystery. The feminine loves to wonder, loves to feel excited, right? And be aware that it also loves guidance and leadership, and it also loves to feel safe with you. Mm. And those are all things that you can communicate verbally, but there's simply no need if you're really embodying it. Mm. That could probably be a conversation in and of itself. But we are going to end off with our final question that I asked all our guests, which is, and you can take it one at a time, but how do you want to evolve your business and also your relationship in the next year, Martin? Oh, my business and my relationship?
One at a time.
Well, let's start with relationship. I want to evolve my relationship to a point where, well, this is obviously restricted right now, but I want to travel the world with my girlfriend. We actually have a list of destinations picked out already. And we are very lucky to have found a home this year that we really love here in Barcelona, in our favorite neighborhood, and have kind of created a routine and a lifestyle that we're really enjoying, and it really lets our relationship thrive in all fields, really, like vulnerability and intimacy and helping each other grow. It's all there. And so I just want to take that to the next level and challenge us with more adventures in the future. And start a family. Who knows? That's the goal for me and for her eventually. When it comes to business, right now I'm working on mastery of masculinity, brotherhood coaching, It's my very first coaching project that's in a group setting. And so I'm very excited about that. And I am planning on growing that group and improving it as time goes on. And my true vision is to create a network through mindful masculinity where I can take people on board for group coaching, for one-on-one mentoring. I can help them become men's coaches, and eventually I can take them through their career as men's coaches where they create wealth and become providers, and I can teach them wealth mastery as well, so they can tap into the abundance of being an authentic masculine man who really is a pure channel for that masculine, for the divine masculine energy.
Yes, I love that. We're definitely on the same, journey together. And, this is all about cooperation, not competition, helping each other to, grow and affect as many lives as possible and really create a new paradigm where people want to wake up and just live their best lives and do it from a good place. And, also the adventure part, I super connect with that. Now, where can you already dropped it, so where can the listeners find you if they don't already know you? And we heard about that challenge you've got in your group, so
Yeah,
drop your handle right now.
absolutely, man. So people can find me on martinmezei.com. That's Martin, MARTIN, MEZEI.com. This is my website where you can find all info about me. And you can find my group, which is facebook.com/groups/mindful masculinity, roughly 800 members and growing at the time of recording on this podcast.
That's awesome. That's awesome. My group does not have 800 members, but if anyone wants to join mine, it's Dave Gold Evolve. You guys can check out my site, davegoldevolve.com. I'm offering a free consultation for whoever wants to evolve their business or dating life today. So this has been great. Okay. We were able to touch on a number of different subjects from your journey, which is pretty remarkable, to overcoming addiction. Okay. And also a toxic relationship. And now you're in a position where you're going to affect a lot of lives and have this beautiful relationship, hopefully, that lasts for many years to come. And it's been incredible meeting you. And, hopefully we'll be able to meet up soon in Europe.
My honor, man. Thank you for having me on, and thank you to everyone listening.
Absolutely. So guys, give a like, subscribe, comment if you enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you guys in the next podcast. Peace.